Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great to see you coming into today's session. We've got record numbers of people coming into today, which I'm very excited. And it's good to see many familiar names popping in. So if you're a regular to these feature updates, then welcome back. It's good to see you. And if you're new here, then welcome to your first one. As many of you know already, this is one of my favorite sessions of the month, where basically we get to spend 30 or so minutes running through some of the fundamental updates which are live or very soon to be coming live within your Waybook accounts. And the way we like to run things here is to keep this as interactive and engaged as possible. So please feel free to say hello in the chat, perhaps tell us where you're calling from. I'm currently here in London, as usual, and we also have the fantastic Sophia here in the background who will be answering any questions or thoughts as it keeps as they come up throughout today's session. So we've got a few fundamental things to run you by today, or run by you today. But please do keep any thoughts or conversation coming. So hello, Rachel, there in the chat. It's good to see you coming in from Chicago. So let's just jump straight into what we're doing. I can see there's still quite a few people tumbling in, but let's begin. What we will be covering in today's update, looking at what's happened in March, is we've got some amendments to our dashboard, which you would have already have seen if you've been into your Waybook since then. So it's slightly different look, but we've also seen that we now have your notification center on the dashboard. And we have a slightly improved structure based on how we see people use their dash, and really there to focus, making sure that your team and your readers are always taken to the best thing for them at the time. We also have some additions to our search and ask insights, and specifically being able to export those insights. We'll dive into that in a bit. We've also enabled the ability to import via PDF. So we know a lot of people use the import tool, and primarily people import via Word documents, but now you can import new documents via PDF. And I'd like to just show you a little bit around that and how to get the most out of it. And then we also have, which is live in your accounts, a feature which we explored through a few months ago and has been working on, or we've worked on it a lot in the background. This is context. And specifically, I'm going to be sharing with you how to best use context, where it lives within your Waybook, and how to utilize conversion from your context as well. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it when we talk about our improved dashboard. Now, as you most likely know, when you or your team jump into your dashboard or jump into your Waybook, the dashboard is always the first thing they see, unless they're clicking on a specific link or going into a specific document, which basically means that it's what gets the most amount of eyeballs all of the time. Now, most of the time, what we see is we really want to help you make sure that your readers see the most important documents for them, dependent on where they are as part of their onboarding, or actually their training, or if they just want to get some access to the single source of truth. We've also wanted to make sure that they can get there faster, and also make sure that they can catch up on what they've missed much more easily. So the major amendments that's happened to the dashboard, and we've not made huge changes because we don't like moving things around and kind of making your team feel like they're having to relearn how Waybook works, is that you're now able to see notifications on the dashboard. So we have a notification, really robust notification system in Waybook. A lot of that does go into email, but of course there's other smaller changes, assignments, updates, things like that, which will be added to your notification center that don't necessarily need an email. So instead of just bringing that into the bell in the top right, we've added that to your dashboard. And we've also optimized the start here tile. So I'll share that in just a moment. Now, this is available in all accounts. It's active on all Waybooks. So actually, if you go into your Waybook and you jump into the dash, you'll be able to see exactly what we're looking at. So to save you kind of jumping between, let me just share my screen and give you a sense of the immediate changes that we've made. So just from a design perspective, this has been brought to be more visual and more focused. And you might have realized before that your search bar was higher. Now, because you always have this top search there, that's just been brought down as a secondary search. And also within that, you'll also be able to look at the last searches that you made. So if you wanted to research something or your team are asking regular questions, then they can just quickly hit on that, and that will actually load up that search for them as well. But the new additions are the notification center here. Now, you do also have access to your notification center up here, but within this, you'll be able to see more of your previous notifications. You can mark them as red as you go through, so the new ones that have been assigned, or of course, you can mark all as red. Now, these are, of course, marking the notifications as red rather than marking the documents, and really is there just for people to quickly get access into the documents that have changed, been updated, or been assigned to them. But the other thing, and this was present in the previous dashboard, it's just been styled in a different way, is this start here. So if there's ever any doubt in terms of what your team members need to do when they jump into your Waybook, it's now flashing for the first few moments when you're on that screen, and it will show the document tile for that next document which is available or necessary for them to complete. Now, the way that Waybook organizes and prioritizes what is up next for them is very much focused on is very much focused on the next document which has the main priority for them to take. So that might be if they're in a path, it will be the next available document in the path. If they have documents that have a deadline, then that will also be prioritized. And also, if they have a document which, if they've done everything they need in their onboarding, all documents with that require attention with a deadline on, then actually it will just be prioritized by the unread documents in the left-hand side. So you can always be sure that actually they are taken to the next available document. Now, on these new document cards, what you'll see is you'll see the title more clearly. It will also then say how many steps are in that document, and also the subject as well as their status within that specific document. Now, you're seeing this is because in this there's no description in that document. So if I was to go into the settings of that document and add a description, so let's say information on how to create engaging content, then what you'll see is when we save that, then we go back to the dashboard, that will now show the description rather than the preformer, just how many steps are in there. So this is a really useful way if you wanted to actually enrich the kind of quick view of your document. Now, if you don't want to go around and write individual descriptions for each of your documents, when you're in there, you can just click generate. And what Waybook will do is it will read the document, create a description, and then actually just automatically put that into your document as well. So that's another little addition which has been put in. Anywhere that you need to generate content, which is kind of just making your Waybook and your knowledge easier to navigate, we're trying to make that just one click for you to automatically generate that. So that kind of brings us to the end of the new dashboard. Now we do always take lots of feedback and insights on that. So if you ever have any thoughts, questions, or want to share with us how you're using the Waybook dashboard, of course, please do let us know. So next up, moving on, is the search and ask insights. Now, I know many of you will already be aware of the fact that search and ask insights are available, but they've been optimized and also have been amended to be able to be exported. And the reason why that is because really we want to help you as the knowledge owners to always be able to iteratively improve that information for your team and always make sure that your content is up to date. And secondly, what we find a lot of times when people have successfully implemented their Waybook across their team is that they tend to find that the emails, the phones, the Slack and Teams messages just get a little bit quieter because we've removed those repetitive questions. We've removed the kind of smaller things that kind of take up a lot of our time but don't add a lot of value because people are searching in their Waybook. However, we want to make sure that you still have visibility of those quiet questions. And that's mainly because sometimes just because people aren't asking it doesn't mean that there's not a knowledge gap within the business or reinforcing what is important to our team. So within Search and Ask's insights, you can actually see all of the queries that have been asked over Search or, in fact, Ask. And you can actually see what the feedback from those queries have been, or the results that people are getting. And this enables us to see those knowledge gaps. Now, again, this is, and sorry, and the additional thing there is that you can now export that. So within the Search and Ask insights, you can decide whether you're looking at 1 week, 2 weeks, or over a month. But that will then kind of leave the system within that. So being able to export the queries means that you can have a longer term view and perhaps do some of your own analysis over time. Now, the way you access this is available in all accounts. It's available within your reports. So you do need to have access to both the reports section, which means that you need to be a manager or above from a team's perspective. And if I jump into that, we can then head straight down into the search insights. And in here, I'll be able to look at all of the searches that have been asked. And I'll then be able to select the time, so 24 hours, 7 days, or a week. Now here we can also toggle over for the ones that have no results. So luckily all of the questions or searches that are being requested are showing results. But if you have some that are happening multiple times that have low or no responses, then that's a really great sign for you to see, okay, there's a knowledge gap there. We want to close that up. And then if we go into the Ask Insights, we can actually see all of the questions that are being asked and specifically look at the ratings that those questions are having as well. So if we look perhaps over the last 28 days and let's say any poor questions, so these are the questions that people are asking where they're having a conversation, but they're not getting the information they need. And that's a really good insight into understanding that maybe we need to improve or of course put in that information we see when that last search was as well. Now, on top of that, we can export that as a CSV. So as I mentioned, if you wanted to perhaps export that every month, and then you can do your own analysis over how those are changing on the monthly, then that is also available within your accounts. Whilst I'm just in the reports, you'll notice that we are always adding new reports within there as well. So there's lots of analytics which we want to try and, or reports we want to continue to bring to you, really to help you improve the management of your Waybook. So if there's something you're seeing that you'd like to see differently, or perhaps something that you would love to know about how people are using your Waybook or creating the documents, or where the skills gaps are within the team, let us know and we'll see if we can make sure that that is easily visible for you as a knowledge owner. So that is our second announcement, which we've got today. The third focus that we have today is PDF imports. Now, this is one that we were really excited to bring into Waybook. And it was one of those that actually we put live on a Friday. And then when we came in on Monday, we had a huge amount of people using this feature without us even letting you know that that's available. So we know for sure that this is something that is hotly requested from people and widely used. Now, again, the reason why we have imports within Waybook is to improve the ease for you to both create and also migrate your existing knowledge into your Waybook. Now, what we've enabled you to do is import the knowledge from a PDF perspective, because up until now, most of the imports have been done from Word or raw text into that. So all of the previous import options are still available. So you can still import from Word, you can import from your Waybook Shots, so our SOP capture tool. You can also use Tango, and we also have our custom migration available where you can actually just get access to our migration team, and for a small additional fee, you can just send all of the files over to the team and they will structure it, build out your Waybook and send it back to you. But with regards to PDF imports, that is available in all accounts, and it's actually available within the editor navigation menu, which I will just share my screen and we'll kind of just run into that. So if you've done an import before, it's exactly where you would expect it to be. We go over into the Edit tab, we go into Imports, and then from there we can either select jump into Word, or we can go into PDF. Now, what we do need to do is select where we want that to go first, and then from that Word file, from that, let me see if I can just get this in front of me here. And then from that screen there, we can basically just grab in a PDF, which I have on my desktop. So let me just grab that. This is when I'm punished for having too many tabs open on a Wednesday afternoon. So yeah, we can kind of select that. What you'll see, you can import multiple files, and then that import will just be made available on the left-hand side. So you can navigate away from this page, and it will kind of just keep importing however many files you throw at it. Now, one thing to bear in mind with PDF is we do still recommend, if you can get that version in a Word document, we recommend taking it into Word before importing it into Waybook. And that's mainly because PDF is a bit of a funny file type where text isn't really text, images aren't really images. And that means that sometimes when you import a PDF file, it doesn't actually pull in the images. And if you have text in strange formats like multiple tabs, multiple columns or text in different places, it might not get all of that text in there. But if we just look at this procedure for filing expenses, then what you can see is it will just import all of the text from that document. Now, for anyone who is importing, then you'll know that actually most of the time it will generate this into one step. Now, we are working on ways of formatting imports into automatically into structured individual steps within your Waybook. So that will be coming very soon. But always remember that actually, if you ever want to separate out your documents, when we come to this editing part, you can just click this 6 dot icon and then click split step. And what it will do is it will pull everything from that document from below that step and put it into a new step. So again, we can split step there. Perhaps we want to jump that into a new category. Sorry, into a new step. And you get the impression that it's very easy for us to then just build out that information. Now, if you are working with very large PDFs and actually within one PDF you have multiple documents, then what you can actually do is you can actually split the steps. So say, for example, all of this is a separate SOP, and then I can simply just move that step into another document. And then from that separate document, that can then essentially be a new document that we create for our process or procedure. Now, if you have imported that and we've taken that information, and I'll just put that information back in there, then of course you've still got all of those other editing tools. So actually we might want to expand that out a little bit more, or of course we might want to then add in images or videos or checklists or whatever you need that to be. You can do that from your standard Waybook navigation in the same way that you would usually do that. And of course, if you wanted to add a test, then okay, you can add that in with AI. So Waybook will read the document, prioritize the most important things to test your team on, and then create those multiple choice questions based on the information within that document. So that takes us to the end of PDF exports. If you've got any thoughts or questions, please feel free to chuck that in the chat or the Q&A, and I will be happy to answer any questions or hear any thoughts that you've got on that. So that is PDF imports. And the final thing, and this is really the big thing we've been working on over the last few months, is that Waybook Context, which I did announce a couple of months ago, is now live for all accounts and is available for you to use. Now, I wanted to just take a moment here. I just wanted to take a moment here to share exactly what context is and how we see it working differently to import and differently to kind of creating your Waybook documents. So essentially, Waybook is that place where information becomes knowledge. So yes, we might have lots of different information sources, different notes, different transcripts, different documents, and ultimately we want to centralize that into our single source of truth, which is Waybook. And in that single source of truth, we then basically want to confirm what is real, confirm what is up to date, and take it from there. But we know sometimes we don't have the perfect document to create and we don't have the time to create it. So that's where context comes in. And context really enables us to increase the speed and ease that we can just create some knowledge, instantly make it available for our team, and then we can use that knowledge to optimize and create information and documents moving forward. So what it actually is that ability to add a file, attachment, a note, whatever you want into your context. That then becomes instantly available both within search and ask, but it's badged as a different type of content. So we always know that knowledge needs to be in a document, but that extra information can be within your context. And I'll make sure this is clear when we're clicking through it in just a moment. And then what Waybook can do is it can then intelligently convert that context into knowledge. So the way you access this is available in all accounts now. And you notice that we've actually moved it to where it originally was based on some of your fantastic feedback. So Waybook Context is actually now available for editors in the left-hand editing navigation. So if we head over into the context here, you'll see that context can have one or many files. You can have a huge amount of documents within here. And you'll see here that these are just files or notes that I've updated. Now, if I kind of want to upload a file, I can drop that file in. So actually, I'll pull in that expense procedure, because let's just say it's an old expense procedure that I'm not yet ready to create into a document. So this is the one that I've just shown that export, oh, sorry, that import from a PDF perspective. The other thing that we might want to do is we might want to create a note. Now, if we're creating a note, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be the perfect, fully formed information. It can be anything from just a rough note about an idea I had, or in this example, it can be a transcript from a Zoom conversation that you've had, or perhaps a conversation that you've had on Teams that you just copy and paste and put that into the note. Now, what Waybook will do is it will actually then automatically give you a description of that content. So we can see here that this PDF is a procedure for filing expenses, and it's just automatically summarized that. So we can always see what that is and what type of document. This example here from a PTO booking conversation. So it's a transcript between me and Erica talking about how to book annual leave. And that now just lives within our context. So if I go back into our standard Waybook and I ask a question, you can see I've just asked it previously, how do I book PTO? Now, what you'll see is that we don't actually have any knowledge within our Waybook that talks about PTO. We've not created a policy, we've not created a procedure, but we know that lives in information within the business. So Waybook won't be able to answer that question. However, you'll see here that there is an answer within context. So your team will know that first we look at our knowledge. If not, there might be something else we can do. Now, once we've got this, what we can basically do is Waybook will then answer that question either from a chat or from a file perspective, and we can actually look at that additional context. So what this enables you to do is just put all of your information in, and without any work, our team can automatically ask and answer, navigate those questions, and be where they want to be. However, let's just have a quick look and jump back into context. Now, what you can do is firstly, when you upload everything, everything will be a private file. So that's why if I want to move it to all admins, that's now available to all admins. If I actually want to make it available for everyone, I can make it available for everyone. So you can really decide what stays private to you, to other editors, or in fact to the wider team. But this can be best described as a staging ground. So think of this as almost putting everything in, and then we'll figure it out later as we're building out the Waybook. So what I'm going to do is, let's say, for example, I want to now convert this PDF, so the procedure of creating it, or perhaps this rough transcript, into either a policy or procedure or piece of information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select that document. And again, you can select one, you can select two, you can select multiple. And we're going to then convert that file into a piece of knowledge. Now, if we didn't do anything here, it will automatically decide what sort of document it should be. And we can kind of give it a bit of a direction on the piece of knowledge we're looking to create. So that conversation that I've had here in this transcript, Erica's talking about how can she book PTO, and I'm saying about her vacation days, how she does it, whether you can carry over policy, carry over leave, things like that. So let's say instead of it being a procedure, we want to turn that into a policy, and let's say PTO policy. Now, again, we'll decide where that needs to be. So let me just put it into this first subject. And what Waybook will do is it will use AI to pull in all of that context. It will also, if you've got multiple files, take insights from the different context files that you've created, and then instantly just create you that policy. So we can now break that down into PTO entitlements, how you request time off, the notice period to do that, carrying over vacation days, and all of that has actually just been generated from that unstructured conversation which I had, which could be a transcript, it can be a couple of rough notes, or however you want that to be. Now, instantly, that is a PTO policy ready to go. And Andrea, I know you asked a question there about how can you wanted me to repeat how to actually generate questions from the text. So this is a perfect time, which I'll show that again. So you just go down to, instead of adding a new information step, you just add in a new test step, and then you're having the option of either creating that manually or creating that with AI. So now Waybook will read the document, prioritize the most important things to test your team on, and then instantly create you how many vacation days, what's the notice period, whether people should, what people should do. And literally what we've done there is we've taken a 3-minute conversation between me and one of my team members. We've turned it into a policy. So it's now information, it's now knowledge. And then we've added tests to it, which means that we have now turned that into training material. You can, of course, add in perhaps a confirmation step. So I acknowledge that I, understand this policy. And then let's say, for example, we've added that in. I can now publish that document. And if I publish that document and go into the reader mode there, we can now see that as a reader, I'll go through that. I'll mark that as complete. I'll track my progress. I need to answer the questions correctly. And I then come in to confirm that document. And that is essentially how we turn rough information into structured knowledge, into training material, and making sure that our team is all structured and compliant. Cassandra, you've said this is great for how your brain works. Yes, I fully agree, because so rarely do I sit down and I'm saying, right, I have a policy in mind that I want to create, or I have a procedure in mind I want to create. The way I work is I literally just need to say, something's just popped into my head. Let me just create that note of every webinar, every new feature webinar should have, I don't know, X, Y, Z, and then I'll put that in, and I'll put a few different notes in. And then when I'm ready to create a new procedure of how we do those webinars, I'll literally just click that one, click that one, click that one, and say, can you just make this into some sort of procedure? And Waybook will do all of that hard work for you. So that is context. We're really excited about this. And I hope that kind of shares the differentiation of when you would use context compared to when you would use import. Essentially, import is a one-for-one. Do you have the file? Do you have the information? Put it in and create a document. Context is where it might be outdated. It might be not quite full information. You don't quite know the shape of it. Put it all in there, and then later we'll sort that through. Now, a bit of an insight into what we're working with at the moment is we're creating background workers. So what Waybook will soon be able to do is when you put that context in, that staging area, overnight and in the background, Waybook will continue to understand the information that you have within your Waybook, perhaps the knowledge gaps, and it will look for that knowledge within context. And then you'll wake up and it will just give you suggestions of ways that you can improve procedures, improve policies based on the knowledge that exists across your business. So we're really excited about where that's going, and that is now available to all of you in exactly the way that you can see that there. So that brings us to the end of context, and really the end of today's session. That's kind of the main thing to kind of get into all of your accounts. But as you know, being Waybook users, there's loads of other things that's happening across your accounts. So you might have actually already noticed some changes on easier access to font and brand colors. We've got new document cards across the board. And a few other things that you might have missed is the fact that you can create those AI profiles and settings, which I'll just share with you in a minute, and of course your Waybook notes. So just jumping back in to share a couple of insights on those. A small change that's happened just to make it easier for you. If you are changing the font color, then you've got the brand colors and a few different bits really easily accessible from one view. A small thing, but if you've come across that and you know what we're talking about, then you may even have been some of the people that requested that. The improved document cards is a real level of consistency across everywhere that you see documents. So that might be, within a flow or within a particular, if we go into a subject, you see documents in slightly different ways to basically make sure that you have more information available and giving you less clicks to make sure that you're having a more powerful conversation with your knowledge. The other thing that I shared just on that is if we head into our settings, under our kind of profile details, we can actually put in our website, your industry, your location, your team size, a bit of a description, and actually what's the tone of voice that you have in terms of how you want your documents to be created. And that will actually then customize any of the AI power that it happens across Waybook to your business, to your industry, to your type, to your description. And you'll notice that if you added in the information to those, Waybook will just become increasingly smarter for you. And then the final thing, I did cover it within there, but all of your notes, so if you did use notes, are now available within context. So that means that your notes can still be private to you, or you can share them with other admins or in fact everyone, but that would live both within context. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Now we're always working on things, as you know. So a couple of bits we're working on is that improved context conversion, as I mentioned. So there's going to be a few different ways, really intelligent ways to actually make sure that we're making it easier to add new context, new information into your Waybook, new knowledge, making it easier to stay up to date. We've also just started working on an org chart as well. So this is at the very beginning of that project, but we will be getting that out to you as quick as we possibly can. So this enables you to essentially map out the roles within your organization, link that to the users within your Waybook and the necessary documents that that role needs to enable you to have a more holistic view of the organization, both for you and also for your teams. And of course, we are working on so much more within the background. So that brings us to the end of today's session. I am going to hang around just for a couple of minutes for questions. So if you do have any thoughts or questions, now is the time. And it's great to see the love that you guys have given context and a few other things in the chat. So please do let me know if you have any other thoughts or questions. However, apart from that, thank you so much for coming. We have lots that is cooking on this side within Waybook, and I really appreciate you showing up for these sessions regularly. A lot of what we do and a lot of the order of how we do it is very much driven by the request that you make and the insight that you give. So if there is something that you want, if there is something that you believe that you can get more value out of Waybook, please do let us know, because that truly is the lifeblood of how we operate. So let me just head into questions. So Rachel, with the AI tone, is that set at a user level? Meaning if you have more than one person creating it, the tone is set for different people? No, the tone is actually set from an organization perspective. And the purpose of that is just because what we're really trying to create here is a consistent tone of your Waybook, so how your business speaks to your team members. And that will actually be that will be across the board within your Waybook. However, what you can do, if we just head back into this, let's say, for example, the tone that we've decided to set for our organization is, let's say, kind of inspirational or motivational or kind of professional. If we actually generate a document and that document has been, that document has used that particular tone, but we kind of want this to be a little bit different, then you can actually optimize that tone on a very specific basis. So you highlight whatever text, you add in actions, and you can say, make this or rephrase this to be more inspirational or whatever that may be. And then actually, because you've got those custom prompts within there, then you can kind of change that. So here, together we can build a supportive and unified community. So you get the impression there, one voice for the organization, but you can customize that on a document or an individual step basis as well. Great question. Thank you very much. Amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for another valuable session. It's great to see you all on today. If you've got any other thoughts or questions, please do get in touch. And we look forward to seeing you continue to get your business on the same page with Waybook. And we look forward to all enjoying some smooth scaling. So until next time, have a great one, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.